DermBiz episode 9. In this episode, we discuss how to stay alive in your practice, how to avoid those things that will cause you to have to close your practice, and how to avoid feeling guilty about making decisions that you know are necessary to keep your practice healthy, but may not necessarily make everybody else happy. DermBiz episode 9. Let's go. That obstacle, that thing that's holding you back, a ball and chain as you're trying to run the race of small business and private practice operations as ownership. That thing that could potentially be the pitfall, the challenge, the thing that will trip you up is guilt. We believe that there's one thing that could potentially be holding you back in your private practice journey. Your journey to create the private practice that you set out to create. It was something that's held us back for probably about 4.5 to 5 years of our 6 years in practice. We don't have it quite figured out yet, but we think that we've turned the corner on this thing within the last 6 to 12 months. So I'm going to read I'm just going to go over quick. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read a message that we received from one of our patients who maybe effectively tried to guilt us. This patient talked about, he says, I'm bummed to learn that Lilly Dermatology doesn't take our insurance. He said, looks like we're going to have to switch. He talked about how if he comes and sees us out of network, only 50% is going to be covered. He doesn't want to do that. He pays $30,000 a year in annual premium, which is a lot of money. And, he still has doctors that he can't see. And he just wants to know why. As a matter of fact, he says, but all caps, W-H, why? He wants to know why. And I'm going to tell him why. The reason is, over the last 12 months, we figured out what our number one objective is. Initially we thought our number one objective was to provide the best possible care that we can to our patients. And we do that. We get up every day and that's our focus. We thought that the number one objective for us is to provide the best possible work environment for our staff. And we focus on doing that as well. We thought that our number one objective was to continuously improve, to not let complacency set in, to get better and improve. And that's still a foundational belief that drives us to this day. However, all of those are secondary. As a private practice owner, this is something that most small businesses know, but I think that sometimes in a medical space, people learn this lesson. Sometimes they never learn it, or they learn it a little bit too late. The number one rule is don't die. That's the number one rule. Because if your practice has to close, you can't provide great care to your patients. If your practice has to close, you can't provide a great work environment for your staff. If your practice has to close, you can't innovate and improve on a daily basis to create better experiences for your people. And whenever you find something that may be standing in the way of the private practice of your dreams, most likely, if you're a doctor who's watching this, you started with the vision of creating a better mousetrap. You believed that you could do it better than the hospitals. Maybe you believed that you could do it better than them. I know that's what we did. We believed that we could do it better. We believed that we would treat our employees better. We believed that we would pay them better. We believed that we would treat our patients better. We believed that we would give them better care. And what we found was that is a great driving force on a day-to-day operations, but it can't be your primary objective. Number one is don't die. Number one is you have to stay in the game long enough to play the game to win. And so what we found is one thing that stood in the way of us and becoming the kind of practice that we want to become and having longevity was the guilt behind taking all insurances. For the first 4.5 years, 5 years, we took every insurance known to man. Everything. You name it, we took it. And that worked for us when we were small, 5-6 person company. that worked for us. But once we figured out that this 5 or 6 person company wasn't really a company, it was a job. It was basically, my wife is a dermatologist, so it was basically a job for my wife, and all of us were kind of like support staff for her job. What we found was there are some advantages to that, but some big disadvantages is when you go on vacation, everybody's on vacation. Everything shuts down. If you get sick, nobody can work. I'm talking about the doctor. The doctor is in a very precarious situation. They're almost equivalent to a singer or some kind of performer. There's no replacement for this person. And that's how everything is set up. It's a great job, but not necessarily a business. We decided about 3 years ago that we wanted to make the transition to business, not just a great job. And with that, we had to make some decisions. We had to eventually, we didn't do this until a year ago, eliminate some of those insurances that were threatening our number one objective, which was don't die. We found that as we were seeing higher volumes of patients with more staff and more providers, that those low paying insurances, those insurances that made it difficult to get medications covered, you had to fight with them on the phone. I mean, it wasn't uncommon for one of our nurses to be on the phone for 45 minutes trying to get a prior authorization approved for one of these insurance companies that were their modus operandi was to not pay. And so it's many insurance companies out there that's their profit strategy. Make it so difficult that the doctors have to figure out, do I want to treat patients or do I want to fight with them to get paid for the patients we treated months ago? And so oftentimes doctors choose the treat patients category, and a lot of things fall through the cracks. Medications don't get approved. Work that you did on a patient doesn't get paid for. We realized that we could not do that. This is to the doctors out there, because I know that there may be some private practice business managers or office managers who are watching this, but this is to the doctors out there. It is true that when you became a doctor, this is me putting my serious voice on and my calm and empathetic voice. It is true that when you became a doctor, you were responsible for taking care of your patients. You took an oath, the Hippocratic oath. And that one part of the oath says to do no harm. And you must adhere to that oath. However, when you started your practice and became a small business owner, you took another oath. That is, you became a fiduciary, and you have a fiduciary responsibility to your staff and all the people who depend upon your practice economically. Not just the people in your household, but your staff members who also maybe get health insurance from you. They are underneath the umbrella that you've created. And if something happens, it's going to harm them. And so you have a fiduciary responsibility to think long term, to not do anything short term that will harm your practice long term. And so the thing that can stop you is guilt. Don't feel guilty, because the flip side of that guilt is if you go out of business, your patients aren't going to feel guilty. The insurance company that you decided to leave their network, they're not going to feel guilty. The insurance companies that you're in network aren't going to feel guilty. Your suppliers aren't going to feel guilty. That McKesson rep will have donuts and taking it to the next office across the street from you. That Botox rep, that filler rep, that Otezla rep, all of these people, they're going to keep moving. They're going to keep going because they understand the rule number one, which is don't die. They don't drop their prices or change their whole model because you decide that it doesn't work for you. They figure out a way to operate in a way that works for them and that will work for them long term, and they stick to that. I plead for you. I plead with you to do the same thing, because if your practice dies, the healthcare in your local area will get worse. Your patients will have less choices, and most likely, it's not going to be a ton of people out there in your local area who are bringing the level of quality on a day-to-day basis that you're bringing. The relationships that you've established with your patients, the relationship that you've established with your team will all be broken. It is very important. Sometimes you have to say no so you can say yes in the future. One of my favorite phrases that I just read in a book that I just finished recently, it says, every yes must be defended with 1,000 no's. If you say yes to one thing, if we were to say yes to all insurance networks, when we were saying yes to all insurances, we were by default saying no to a lot of other things. We were saying no to decent profit margins. We were saying no oftentimes to being able to afford to buy the extra piece of equipment to provide better care to our patients. We were saying no to sometimes being able to have the money to hire another staff member. We were saying no to, being able to give people a day off or, more PTO days or pay for vacation. Every yes must be defended with 1,000 no's. Just make sure you're prepared for all of those no's that you would have to give based upon that yes that you're giving out. I ask you, please, above all else, make sure that you don't die. Thank you for watching the episode today. If you found it beneficial in any way, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. If you got value out of this, we want to continue to keep providing this content. The way we know that you like it, the way we know that it's helping, is through your subscribing and through your comments and through your sharing. So give us some feedback. Also, leave us some feedback in the comments if there's any other episodes that you want us to make in regards to DermBiz or just practice management, the business of small private practice management in general. Definitely leave those, and we will be happy to make a video from our perspective. We come with almost 6 years of experience in this. We've had ups, we've had downs. We don't have it all figured out, but we're committed to learning and getting better every day and sharing everything that we learn so you too can have a long-term and thriving practice. Thank you.
What other specific topics related to the business of private practice management would you like for us to cover? Please share in the comments below or reach out to us on social media or our email address, thedermbiz@gmail.com. Our mission is to create a movement of collaboration and support amongst physician-owned private practice owners. If you would like to join that movement, again, don't forget to like, share, comment, and please don't forget to subscribe.